Hi there, welcome back to Not Another Budget. I'm Nicole, and on this channel I'm attempting to cash budget my way out of debt, fix several years of financial misbehaviour, and at the minute navigate a 6-week pay period due to a payday swap over. And that has been, let's just say, dramatic in its own way. Today's video is a delayed Budgetmas Day 6, and that is because I was out yesterday evening on my staff Christmas meal, I should say, and I didn't have a chance to get something filmed. So today you're going to get Budgetmas Day 6 and Budgetmas Day 7, weather pending, because we're under a yellow warning, but we have got extremely high winds and the power is interesting, to say the least, at the minute. So if both videos don't get released today, know that both were filmed and they will be coming. But I've actually decided to go ahead and close out week 3 of 6 early, and that is due to those weather conditions. The plans that I had, which meant that I might need to spend a little bit of money coming up tomorrow on the 8th of December, aren't going to go ahead because of that weather. They are tweaked slightly, but it's not going to involve a possible expenditure, which I felt might have been the case, which was why I was holding off. Instead, I've been, granted the opportunity this weekend to just sit and relax, bearing in mind I didn't get into 1 a.m. this morning, so that there is at least that as well, to just sit, relax, wind down. It's been, if you've seen my Budgetmas videos from this last week, you'll have probably got the impression that, it's not been the best week in the world, and certainly from a work and an emotional perspective, that's the case. And I could just do with a weekend where I don't have anything set. There are things that I should do, and if I feel like doing them, I'm gonna take an hour to do them. But equally, if I feel like just sitting and reading a book for an hour, I will sit and do that. If I can summarise this week, I think I said in an earlier video, possibly Budgetmas Day 5, that this week could be summarised as cash flow. And I find cash flow on a budgeting perspective within a personal budget really frustrating and difficult to try and navigate sometimes. And that's because sometimes, although you may end the week and look at a total like this and go, but ultimately at the end it was okay, there were certain points throughout the week where things were incredibly tight and back down to zero, and the money wasn't there when it needed to be. And that's what I can say about this week. And I would say, being halfway through as well, it was an opportunity for me to go through and go, right, I'm going to bring this slightly forward, following on from my video released on the 5th, where I did a rough breakdown of what I think is going to happen, and looking at the cash flow issues that could pop up. And I therefore pulled some things forward, and then I'll make a decision on coming up on week 4, and I'll talk you through that in a moment as well. In terms of my total income, I carried a rollover of £7.32 forward. I had a coffee payout, and this came in on Monday, of £95.23. But as you'll see down here, I don't get to keep all of that. Stripe/coffee. So Stripe are the payment administrator for the card payments, which I receive through your purchases through my coffee shop, and that is linked in the shop in the description down below. I get paid out in full, and then I have to go and purchase myself postage related costs for physical products or anything like that. So although yes, I received £95.23, I had to pay out by the end £18.78 in associated postage. I have been delayed in going through and just updating all of the orders to shipped, but they have themselves shipped. So that is just something to be mindful of. If you're waiting for a notification, I am behind on that admin aspect of it, and that is on my list to do either this evening or tomorrow, if you're watching this video. Vinted, I received £52.90 in total, but that only literally paid in today, within the last hour of filming this. And then I received from Mum a payment of £100, and that is a loan that has to be paid back in the beginning of December. I have also returned in from going and dispatching some Vinted orders and putting a bit of petrol in following yesterday's driving around, just so I've got a bit in there, and also getting a couple of little bits as well. So my total income at the end of the week was £255.45, but I do just want to stress that literally trickled in throughout the week as well. Now, because of that trickling in process, it meant that the bills that I paid were I paid £12 of my £32 for my November Wi-Fi. The remaining £20 has rolled over onto December's onto December's payment. But it looks like I can pay £12 here, £10 there, etc., I will just go ahead and start chunking that £52 for the both bills down from next week, so from week 4 and 5. And I paid my car tax of £16.66, so I paid a total of £28.66 in bills this week. Week 4 will be heavier for bill payments, and that is because I know what I've got coming in from coffee, which is coming in a larger amount at the start of the week, whereas this week had very much a trickle-in effect. There's less of a trickle-in effect next week, is what I'm saying. And in terms of my flexible expenses, there was a lot going on. The cat meds were £41.66. That's for one of his meds. I will need to do another order for another one, and I'm spacing those out rather than doing them all in one go. Total fuel spend at the end was £39.20. And in terms of what I did for the staff meal, our staff Christmas meal was literally 10 minutes away from where I worked, and the people I was being a designated driver for, I was driving past their house. So I didn't go extra out of my way to give them a lift on a journey I would have been doing, and rather than them give me fuel money, they covered my drinks for me for the night, so I didn't have to pay out anything. And in fact, the 3 pints of Coke, which I had to try and stay awake across the whole evening, was in the end kind of more cost more money than the amount of petrol I'd used. So I didn't have to physically outlay anything last night, and that was lovely. And ultimately a better solution, I think. But I did have to obviously put petrol in afterwards. So £39.20 was the spend on fuel overall throughout this week, and that wasn't done in its entirety. It was topped up throughout the week as well. A little bit of personal spending, that was £13.60. And then Christmas, where I mentioned in my last video that I have got some Christmas things that I can't really put off, in acknowledgement of the fact that I'm going to have to pay out for them, and there's other things as well that's happening around Christmas which I also can't avoid paying for. I've pulled those payments forward, and given that I did have that vintage payout come in today, which I wasn't expecting, this would have gone out on week 4's budget anyway, so it's just been brought forward, and I'm trying to spread the things I need to pay for across the next 3 weeks rather than find myself in a bit of a chokehold / bottleneck situation that I found myself in this week instead. So £24.20 was my Christmas spend. And then in terms of the cat on Bowie, I have underestimated what I'll need to get for him in terms of food. So that is £15.80. I did obviously do a big stock up, but there were a couple of I didn't basically get his dry food. I bought his wet food only. So £15.80 was his dry food and the normal stash of treats for him. And then my own personal food, once I kind of worked out, right, this is what's happening in week 4, I've gone ahead and done a freezer top up because I was eating my freezer down and some fresh as well. So that was £40.64, taking advantage of club card offers and everything like that. And while I was there in Tesco's, which I know is not the cheapest, but it was the closest and therefore better, less on fuel, I did go ahead and return that Christmas jumper as well. So that will be £16 and a small amount of change coming in on week 4's budget as well. So week 4 at the minute is trending to be about £300 worth of income, and that's going to cover the car insurance, which I've had a little look around, and I think I can get cheaper, certainly from a first month's payment. I think I can get it cheaper than the 100 which I've had to budget for. I will obviously just check that. And for those of you who did comment saying loads of you did comment that and things it's fine. I also don't need to go ahead and do the temporary car insurance either, because I'm no longer travelling tomorrow. Someone's travelling to me instead, which is quite nice. So that was a cost which I didn't have to pay out for. My car, I have a driveway, so my car is not insured and stationary on the road. It is on my driveway, and as of Monday I will be able to go ahead and purchase insurance active from then. So it's all fine. It's not ideal, but it's a couple of days where it's not being used. The insurance runs out today. It is uninsured from tomorrow. So kind of good kind of double check on those. So that was that. The toiletry spend, things like toothpaste, deodorant and stuff like that, was £8 and 2 pence. My total personal spend was £183 and 12 pence. So a fair bit going on, but definitely spread out, and I knew I would need to do that fuel payment. and the cat meds as well. So that was a large chunk there. You've already seen me mention £18.78 on postage because people have been lovely and ordered things. And those items that are being posted out, I don't receive the payment for those items, those orders specifically, until next week. But I, have postage dates and postage time sales I want to pay for. So that's how that works. I have got a rollover of £24.98. A little bit of shame that it's not 25, but that just makes my brain nice and happy. And I've got a total spend of £230.47. So the car is going to be uninsured for all of a day, and is going to be sat stationary. I therefore don't need to pay for temporary car insurance. Thank goodness for that. And someone is coming to me rather than me going to them. So that is also a fuel saving as well. So it means I'm going into the week with fuel in my car, with less urgency then on needing to top up until midweek in week 4. I've got a slightly better rollover than I did this week. And I think in terms of being able to cover the council tax and what are we up to? Here we go. So in terms of covering the council tax down here and the December car insurance, I think I can get that slightly lower, but even if I don't, and it still falls within the £99 to £100 region, there is definitely going to be the money sitting there at the start of week 4, which allows me to cover those 2 next very essential bills, where in its entirety the money hasn't been sat there for me to pay for it. Although yes, I've ended this week on a £255 total income, at no point was there sitting in its entirety £100 to either cover the car insurance in one payment or £117 to cover a council tax in one payment. And I think that's where we can lose sight of things within the budgeting. When we're budgeting ourselves, we look at the end of the week and we go, but hang on, £255 in this case, for example, on paper is a really good amount. And then you break it down and you go, oh yeah, but when yes, by the end of the week, this is what has happened, but actually throughout the week, that was not the case. Case in point, needing to borrow, the £100 from mum and dad because it was something I was resisting doing, and it's something I probably should have just done in the first place. But, Vinted not paying out until today over the weekend. And yeah, it was just, even out of the coffee and the rollover, I needed to put petrol in. I made those payments there. It was just, yeah. Managing cash flow within a budget by itself is quite stressful, and you could probably do a whole series of videos and of just how on earth do you manage your cash flow. One thing I have done, and this is inspired by Rainbow Budgets, is I've done the proverbial go down the back of your sofas, look through kind of pockets and jean pockets and stuff like that, and I have managed to scrape together this amount of forgotten change, which surprises me because I'm normally very good at tracking all of the change and making sure I've got it. But this is what I have had in the pocket of one of my very, very rarely used bags. So I have £1.83. I'm not going to input this into my budget yet. Well, I'm going to try and avoid it. I'm not at the minute actively using cash, and that is because from a tracking perspective, it is easier at the minute for me to track the transactions going through my card. I am a mix of a cash and a card-based user normally, but one thing I do know that I want to do going forward from January is I want to try and crack the 365-day penny challenge this year, and I am also a fan of small change challenges like a £1 or a £2 savings challenge as well. I found them to be really quick, effective, pain-free, easy ways for me to accumulate savings without it feeling like I'm saving, and that can be quite crucial for some of us if we feel like we're putting too much money to saving and not enough to debts or not enough to bills. There is an element of self-sabotage I've found with me that can go on, whereas this tends to just not exist, which is strange because obviously this is literally real money. I'm touching it, I'm feeling it, you can all see it. But there is something about the element of ticking it off in a box and then it just disappearing, and that basically means that I can save quickly. So I want to try and start building up every time, if I go to the shop and someone's like, oh, can you pick me up this? Because there's been a couple of instances of that in the past where, I've passed a co-op and my dad's gone, on my way to him, can you pick me up a Costa from one of those machines? And if I've had the money on my card, I've done it, and then he's given me the cash, for example. Or my neighbour's gone, oh, are you going here? Can you just very quickly grab me this and I'll give you the cash for it? Instances like that where I am getting the money back in, it's just in a slight format, and I want to try and use that to give me a little bit of a leg up going into the new year. That's obviously if I'm in the position to do so, but it is something I want to reincorporate. So there is a little tiny, like, this pot may grow. We'll see. We'll find out. I would say it was definitely, it was a difficult week, and it being the halfway point, it feels very strange. I don't really have words for it. I'm not yet excited about it being the halfway point. For me, I feel like once I'm still very tense shoulders. I mean, I'm still in that financial stress state. I will be in that financial stress state for a really long time, because that's not something that goes away quickly. And if you've ever experienced this, it's not an overnight, you've paid a thing and do it. I think once I've dealt with the December car insurance and once I've dealt with the council tax, within the next couple of days, by Tuesday latest, I'll feel a bit more, okay. I've put myself in a good position in terms of food stocks going into this week, and also, whereas last week I literally rolled into the week with not even a quarter of a tank of petrol because I hadn't put petrol in week 2. Lesson learnt there. Put petrol in each week, even if it is only £20 or £10 to top it up. I'll start, I think, from week 4 to just kind of go, okay, we're in a bit of a better position now than maybe I thought. It's also the last teaching week, and that is something to try and just drag myself through, and get there as well. I'm going to leave it here. I do want to do a where was it? I do want to do a kind of where are we at with this total? If you can remember back to one of my first videos on this, I think these are my categories, but I'm not overly sure. I think this is what I've got paying out. I think some of these are ×2, some of these are not. I want to try and do a proper kind of reflection and evaluation with it being halfway through, but actually that in itself deserves its own video. Am I on track with food spending? Is the £250, for example, a correct amount to budget overall for this period? Does it need increasing or decreasing? Cat food, for example, I know was incorrect, and I've not had to go ahead and do Oxford, so that in itself has completely changed. I know I'm under with Christmas, but at the minute, am I going to be really well under, and do I need to reevaluate that? And what's going on there? Toiletry, I should have probably put down as household, but they were toiletry based items, but typically for me they sit in there. So I'm going to do that, as hopefully, if it all is able to be recorded and uploaded, that will be the video for Budgetmas Day 7. So we're then back on track. So there'll be 2 videos coming out tonight. There'll be this one, which is the week 3 reconciliation, and then there'll be an overall monthly budget categories check-in. I'm going to go before my phone drops out of the little mount holder. So I'm going to thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a lovely budgeting week wherever you are in the world. And I'm now going to love you and leave you and see you all literally in a few hours. Bye-bye for now.